Bergara just announced their first suppressor. It's called the BTi30. I've got one right here, and in this video, we're going to put it to the test. Hey guys, Gavin Gear here from UltimateReloader.com. We love shooting rifles with a suppressor, so it's really exciting that Bergara, a company whose rifles we shoot all the time, has announced their very first suppressor. It is called the BTi30. It is a 30 caliber, 3D printed titanium can. What we've got in the box, I'll show you guys. We've got a hot pad to keep our hands protected if we've got a really hot suppressor that we're working with. We've got, of course, the suppressor itself, and then we've got two end cap options. We've got the vented cap installed here, and we've got another one here that will fit flush and not allow the venting. So let me run through some quick specs. The material is grade 5 titanium, weight is 12.9 ounces, length is about 6.5 inches, major diameter is 1.8 inches, maximum rating is a 300 Remington Ultra Mag on a 16-inch barrel, and it's got C-Series Cerakote for high temperature performance. It's also available in tack gray, FDE, and graphite black. So here, obviously, we've got the tack gray version. A couple additional things to note. Because it's 3D printed grade 5 titanium, this gives the engineers the ability to fully optimize the gas flow internally, and that helps to lower back pressure. We've also got a standard hub mount. So we can use this with mounts that have flash hiders and brakes. We can also use it with a different type of mounting solution. So that is an awesome feature. We've also got hex wrench features here on the direct thread adapter and on the body of the suppressor itself. If we want to change end caps, we have this hex feature here that we can use a 5/8 inch socket with. This looks like a really solid design. What I'm going to do is put this on a rifle, actually multiple rifles. We'll do some fun shooting and then come back, do some testing, and review more of the features and functionality in depth. So we actually shot with the BTi30 on a number of different firearms, which I'll walk through in just a moment. But one of the things that Bergara had outlined to us that we noticed the very first time we mounted the BTi30 is that it indexes differently. In other words, it head spaces differently. Normally when you tighten a suppressor onto the muzzle of a firearm, the shoulder of the socket for the suppressor squarely meets up with the shoulder of the threaded muzzle. BTi30 is a little bit different. It actually contacts the front of the muzzle. So this is a different strategy, and one of the benefits that you're going to notice is that you're going to get less carbon buildup on the front face of the muzzle. If you've ever shot with a suppressor over hundreds, if not thousands of rounds, you've probably noticed a heavy carbon buildup. It can be very difficult to remove without damaging the muzzle, and specifically the crown, the transition of the rifling with the front of the facing of the muzzle. So just note that if you get a BTi30 and you screw it on for the first time, you are going to see a gap. I'm going to just quickly measure this with digital calipers. On this SEMA CF Bergara rifle, we're right around 84 thousandths of an inch gap. So let's talk about shooting. The first two shooting scenarios I want to talk about are the two subsonic scenarios. A ton of fun in both cases. First, we took the Henry 3030X model. This is a lever gun that comes with a threaded muzzle, which I think is great because that's not a real common thing, especially historically. And so if you look at our past stories, we worked up a load with Barry's plated bullets, Barry's manufacturing 150 grain Subsonics. These are absolutely fun. Let me show you some of that. And then naturally we wanted to try a 22 LR. So we screwed a step-up bushing on the muzzle of our B14R. We've got a bunch of content on the B14R, and proceeded to screw the suppressor, which of course has a 5/8 socket on it, onto the adapter. And this is what that sounded like. So you'll notice in both cases, I was not wearing Ear Pro because these are clean subsonic loads in the firearms that we were shooting. I didn't personally feel like it was necessary. Of course, that's a choice you have to make. There's always a risk of some transonic or supersonic shots creating a crack. That would be detrimental to your hearing. Then was the AK-47 test. And one thing to note, if you buy an AK, if it's sort of a standard configuration, you're going to have M14x1 metric threads, and they're left-handed threads on the muzzle. So if you look online, you might find something like what we have, which converts from M14x1 left hand to 5/8 right hand. That allows you to screw a suppressor like the BTi30 directly onto the muzzle, and that is a lot of fun, as seen here. So all of those rifles are super fun to shoot at the Ultimate Reloader Industrial Yard, but when we want to go out to further distances, we drive up to the Ridge line, which is what I did next. I started with a 6.5 Creedmoor custom rifle that we built here at Ultimate Reloader. One of the things to note was I screwed on the BTi30, and one of my initial questions was, what kind of POI shift are we going to get? Are we going to get a big difference between a shouldered configuration, a more standard suppressor setup, and this end of muzzle indexed solution that we have with the BTi30? So I screwed it on. I took a couple shots. I had just been shooting with a different suppressor, and what shocked me was how close the shots were in terms of POI. Less than an inch off. That's right. I've seen 5-6 inches off between suppressors that were shouldered to shouldered comparisons, right? Here we're going from shouldered to muzzle end indexing, and we had less than an inch POI shift, which was awesome. A really easy offset, set my zero, and went straight out to 330, where we've got a couple rock chuck targets. Those are always fun. Then I moved out to 706, right? This is a little bit more challenge, but not a problem with the BTi30. Definitely pleasant to shoot with from the prone position. And one of the things that you're going to notice straight away when you go to a suppressor, if you've been using a brake, is the lack of concussive blast. Very pleasant to shoot with and greatly reduced recoil, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Then I moved over to Bergara's new SEMA CF. This is an exciting rifle because it's affordable, it's lightweight, and one of my favorite things about it is it comes with an M5 bottom metal cut. And by default, you have a hinged floor plate configuration, but when we did our overview story, we also showed using a DBM AICS setup with AICS magazines. It's as simple as screwing the bottom metal in and popping a mag in. So this is a great rifle because of its affordability, its precision, totally insane, and then the flexibility to use a detachable magazine or the hinged floor plate config. So we thought, hey, this would be a fun rifle to test with the BTi30. I thought this would be a hunting setup that I would actually use. So I went to our 200-yard tree shooting position where we've got a tree branch to shoot off of, which, by the way, improving when you're hunting is a great solution for a little bit of enhanced precision and confidence building. And I took some shots at our 200-yard steel as seen here. Again, a suppressor for hunting is great because it takes down that hearing damage potential and it also provides a much more comfortable recoil impulse. Highly recommend it. It is also a great way to prevent spooking animals if you're going to try for multiple animals or if you happen to miss and you need a follow-up shot, that kind of thing. So suppressors, totally sold on it. So one of the special capabilities that we have at Ultimate Reloader is our Ultimate Reloader recoil test rig. This is a rig that we put together with help from PCB Piezotronics with Duosoft. They make the DAC module and the software. This is an amazing capability. We can sample up to 200,000 samples per second. And the recoil rig gives us an analogy to what you'll feel in your shoulder. It's not the same because it's like the buttstock of the rifle hitting a concrete wall, but it will be proportional to the differences that you'll feel in a real world scenario with your shoulder. And so for this testing, I thought it'd be interesting to compare the BTi30. One of the questions we had is, you've got the vented cap and you've got the non-vented cap. Will we see a difference in recoil? So we turned to our old standard, the 300 Magnum, right? We've done recoil testing with 300 Win Mag and with 300 PRC. We happen to have a B14 Wilderness and 300 PRC. These cartridges give you a real clear difference between different muzzle configurations, different ammo configurations, and it's a little bit easier to see the nuance of differences in recoil compared to something like a 223 bolt gun on the recoil rig. So the first test was the bare muzzle, and this definitely got my attention. Peak forces with the bare muzzle were 1251.3. So yes, over a half ton of instantaneous force. It's over a very short period of time. So it's not like we have a half ton of bricks on our shoulder, but it is definitely very intense. And that's why you'll see 300 Magnums with either brakes or suppressors, very seldomly with a bare muzzle. Then we pulled out one of our old standard configs for a suppressor, which is the Banish 30 in its 9-inch configuration. So this is the longer configuration. Peak forces were nearly cut in half at 657.8. Then we put on the BTi30 with the solid cap, so no venting. That came in at 755.9 pounds peak force. Then we swapped the solid cap with the vented cap. This is interesting. We had just over 55 pounds of reduction just from swapping the caps. And this suppressor does come with both, which is awesome. The vented cap yielded peak forces of 699.6, which is really close to the banished 39-inch configuration, which is a longer suppressor. So that's kind of interesting. All of these shots fell, as you can see in the graph, within a very small envelope, which is pretty typical. Finally, what's the difference if you step up to a brake? Area 419 has a brake called the Hellfire, which I feel like is a good middle ground comparison. It falls kind of in the middle of recoil reduction. For instance, when we did our 22 cal brake shootout and our 30 cal brake shootout. The Hellfire brake took it peak forces down to 322.9. So a suppressor will not team recoil like a brake will, but it does a tremendous job taking the edge off the recoil and making it much, much more manageable, even with a 300 Magnum. So at the end of the day, I think Bergara's BTi30 is an extremely solid industry offering. It comes from a company you trust. It's got the latest and greatest 3D printed metal technology. It's got a standard hub mount on the muzzle side, giving you a lot of different options. It comes with 2 cap options, the solid cap and the vented cap. And I think the gray Cerakote looks awesome. Multiple colors available. So if you're looking for a suppressor, this is a great new option. What I want to know is, what do you think of the BTi30? Did we miss any key shooting scenarios? If you were going to get one, what would you be putting it on and what would you be using it for? Drop a comment and we'll have a discussion in the comments section. Don't be surprised to see the BTi30 in future videos as well, so make sure you're subscribed with notifications. Thank you very much for watching. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching Ultimate Reloader on TV and want to take advantage of free resources, exclusives, and hot deals, just hold your camera phone up to the QR code, tap on the link, fill out the information, boom, you're getting Ultimate Reloader emails. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. Thanks again for watching.